Greetings, Samba community. A handful of you were asking what exactly I was talking about by a felt ring washer. And while I can't show it to you because the only one that I have has already been bolted onto the back of my motor, I want to give you a clear idea of what exactly I'm talking about and why exactly it appears to be an important part of the motor. Now, if you've gotten in this far, you'll recall, and it might be too dark to see there, pilot bearing sits right here. The input shaft goes in. What should be in there is a lot of grease, a small felt washer, which will sit in there and hold the grease. And yes, felt, I was shocked to find out, felt is a part of a Volkswagen motor. And then a little metal ring that would then sit there to hold the felt and the grease inside of the pilot bearing. Everyone has mentioned that they're aware of this washer, which sits on. And this washer actually has a little bit smaller diameter opening right here than the hole for the pilot shaft. Now, my mechanic from Wolfsburg Volkswagen here in Boulder, Colorado, did claim that you can often get away by putting 2 or 3 felts in here and greasing them up good, and then using this to hold in the felt. But if you don't have something to hold in your felt, what you will end up with is this. Now, you might recognize this as a pilot bearing, but if you'll notice, there's absolutely no bearing on the inside. It's been completely and totally chewed apart, as has the center of this washer, which you can't quite get a focus on. You'll notice it's not completely flat, and it's banged up. What ended up happening was the felt failed, the grease leaked out, and at that point there was nothing holding the shaft. It turns out there is a long way to the other side of the transmission where the bearing inside the transmission holds the shaft. So if there's no bearing on this end, you get a lot of play in your input shaft, bangs the hell out of your pilot bearing and your washer, and eventually your seal fails on your transmission, and you get to do this. For those people, I will also show you another side effect. This is my previous bell housing. You'll notice we have this piece right here, which is called the oil slinger. It actually is a reverse threaded compartment that as the shaft spins, it actually forces the oil back into the transmission. You'll notice it is not pressed into my bell housing. That is not supposed to be out of there. It is supposed to be pressed in and solid as one piece. And all of my and the mechanic's best efforts made it impossible, demonstrated that we could not get this to fit back in. So I now have my new bell housing, which of course isn't new. It does have the oil slinger in place. And once again, this mystery piece, which I don't remember pulling out of this when I took it apart, but is coincidentally the exact same diameter as the hole for the input shaft. So if anyone has any ideas about this before I go putting things back together, I'd appreciate it. But if not, hopefully you learned something about felt ring washers. The mechanic did say they're hard to come by. I wish you the best of luck.